I want you to close your eyes for a moment and picture two apartments. They are in the same city, the same trendy neighborhood, and they have the exact same rent. Walk inside the first apartment, apartment A. This belongs to someone we'll call Hustle Hannah. Hannah is ambitious. She earns $95,000 a year, but her apartment doesn't feel like a sanctuary. It feels like a warehouse for her decisions. You'll immediately notice the 75-inch television mounted on the wall, the leather sectional that cost $4,000. Walk into the kitchen. It's full of appliances, from an air fryer to a sous vide machine, but most are still in their original boxes. Her closets are overflowing with clothes, many still rocking the red sale tags. A spare bedroom, which could be a peaceful guest room or yoga studio, is just storage. It's filled with boxes of items that haven't been touched in years. Now, Hannah looks successful, but if you could see her internal monologue when she checks her bank account, you'd see a knot in her stomach. She is 2 missed paychecks away from a total financial crisis. The stuff she owns is actually owning her. Now, walk into the second apartment, apartment B. This is Blueprint Bella's home. Bella earns $52,000 per year, nearly half of what Hannah makes. But when you walk inside, the first thing you notice isn't the stuff, it's the space, the calm. There's a modest, comfortable couch, a reasonably sized television, a kitchen with exactly the tools that get used regularly. Her closet holds clothes that she actually wears and loves. The spare bedroom is actually a bedroom. When Bella checks her bank account, there is no knot in her stomach. There is only calm confidence. She has 18 months of living expenses saved in a high-yield account, and she invests 20% of every single paycheck before she even thinks about spending. Same city, same neighborhood, same rent, but the person earning almost half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. This isn't a story about income, and this certainly isn't a story about deprivation. This is a story about the hidden, often toxic relationship between stuff and money that most women never understand until it's too late. Hannah isn't bad with money. She doesn't have expensive addictions. She just gradually, subconsciously, accumulated a lifestyle that requires every single dollar she earns to maintain. Bella discovered something that changed everything. She learned that owning less doesn't mean living worse. It means living deliberately. And that deliberate living creates the financial margin, the true soft life that most high earners never get to experience. Welcome back to the Soft Life Blueprint. I'm Nia. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 10 minimalist money rules that separate women who always have money from women who always feel drained, regardless of their income. These rules aren't about suffering. They are about understanding that every object you buy has an ongoing cost you've probably never calculated. If you are ready to stop trading your peace for possessions, let's begin. Before we get to rule number 1, I need to give you a framework that will completely reframe how you think about every purchase you make for the rest of your life. This concept is the foundation of Bella's calm confidence. Everything you own costs money twice. The first cost is obvious. It's the entry fee. It's the purchase price. The number on the receipt. That's the cost Hannah focuses on. But there is a second cost that most people completely ignore, and it is often larger, more insidious, and more draining than the first. The second cost is the cost of possession. It includes 4 specific leaks: storage, maintenance, mental energy, and opportunity cost. Let's look at that treadmill Hannah bought. The entry fee was maybe $800, but cost number 2 kicked in immediately. Storage. The treadmill needs space. Space in your home costs money. In most urban areas, you are paying roughly $30 to $50 per square foot annually in rent or mortgage. A treadmill takes up about 20 square feet when you account for clearance space. That means you are paying $600 to $1,000 per year in implicit rent just to store a piece of exercise equipment that, let's be honest, probably hangs clothes most days. Maintenance. Every item you own needs upkeep. That $30,000 boat sitting in a driveway isn't just $30,000. It needs winterization, cleaning, registration, insurance, and repairs. The rule of thumb is that annual maintenance for a boat is 10% of its value. That's $3,000 every single year just to own it. even if you never take it on the water. Mental energy. Every item you own occupies a small, vital slice of your attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, worried about, insured, maintained, and eventually responsibly disposed of. Visual clutter has been proven by researchers to increase cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and reduce the brain's ability to focus. Your stuff is literally stressing you out in ways you cannot consciously perceive. Opportunity cost. This is the most painful leak. Every dollar locked up in a possession is a dollar that is not invested and growing. That $15,000 home gym setup could have been $15,000 in a diversified index fund. Over 15 years, at a standard 7% return, that would have grown to over $50,000. You didn't just buy a home gym, you bought a home gym instead of future financial freedom. When you add up these 4 hidden leaks, many possessions cost more to own than they cost to buy. Minimalists understand this intuitively. We aren't avoiding possessions because we hate nice things. We are avoiding possessions because we've calculated the true cost, and we've decided that most things are simply not worth our peace, our space, or our future freedom. This brings us to our very first minimalist money rule. Rule number 1 is to calculate your cost per use, CPU, before any purchase, especially an impulse one. The price on the tag is marketing. The cost per use is reality. Before you buy anything, I want you to make a realistic, honest estimate of how many times you will actually use that item in the next year. Then, divide the total purchase price by that number. This gives you the only honest measure of value. Let's look at clothing, a common trap. A $200 trendy jacket that you wear only twice because it doesn't really go with anything costs you $100 per wear. Meanwhile, a beautiful, high-quality $400 classic trench coat that you wear 200 times over the next few years costs you just $2 per wear. Which jacket is cheaper? In any meaningful sense, the $400 jacket is the superior financial decision. The CPU calculation destroys the "it's a good deal" trap of fast fashion. This CPU analysis applies to everything. That $300 kitchen gadget that you'll use twice a year costs you $150 per use over the first year. That is an obscenely expensive way to accomplish whatever task it performs. You could have paid a chef to do it for you. Meanwhile, a $30 high-quality knife that you use weekly costs you less than 60 cents per use. CPU also reveals which luxurious purchases are genuinely worthwhile. A $2,000 premium mattress that you use every single night for 10 years costs you about 55 cents per use. That is extraordinary value for something affecting your physical health, mental energy, and emotional stability every single day. A soft life starts with good sleep. A $1,500 espresso machine used daily for 5 years costs you less than $1 per use. It's a luxury that actually saves you money compared to $5 coffee shop visits. The CPU math cuts through the marketing, the emotion, and the social pressure. It reveals what actually makes financial and logical sense versus what just feels appealing for 5 minutes in the store. Rule number 1 handles incoming items. Rule number 2 handles the items already draining you. I want you to take a blueprint walk through your own home this weekend. Look at every single category of items you possess. Ask yourself a simple, devastatingly honest question. If this item disappeared today, would I spend my hard-earned money to replace it? Be absolutely honest. Would you actually go buy another fondue set? Would you replace that bread maker collecting dust in the cabinet? Would you repurchase those jeans that haven't fit in 3 years? Would you buy that stack of motivational books you've never finished? For most items in your home, the honest answer is no. You would not replace them. They exist in your life through inertia, not through intention. They are remnants of past hobbies, impulse purchases, gifts you felt obligated to keep, or pieces of a persona you have moved beyond. These items have negative value. They are not neutral assets. They are actively draining your space, your mental energy, and requiring maintenance without providing any corresponding benefit. Every hour you spend organizing, cleaning around, or even just thinking about items you wouldn't replace is an hour stolen from the people and activities that actually make your life soft. Minimalists ruthlessly eliminate any item that fails the replacement test. We sell what has value, we donate what someone else could genuinely use, and we discard what serves nobody. This process feels uncomfortable initially. You have to admit you made a mistake, but once it is complete, the feeling is liberating. The psychological weight of owning things you don't want, need, or use is substantial. Removing that weight creates mental space that is difficult to describe but is immediately noticeable. Your rooms feel larger, your decisions feel simpler, your soft life routine suddenly takes half the time. You know where everything is because everything remaining has a purpose? There is a specific pattern I see constantly among smart, successful, professional women who earn great incomes but have nothing to show for it but anxiety. They upgrade perfectly functional items simply because they are bored with them or because a newer, shinier version exists. Their television functions perfectly, but the new model has a slightly better contrast ratio that they won't even notice. Their phone operates flawlessly, but the new release has a marginally improved camera. Their car runs reliably, but the neighbor just bought the New Year's model with updated styling. These upgrades feel like lifestyle progress. In reality, they are wealth destruction disguised as progress. Minimalists maintain a strict policy: never replace something that functions properly. The phone that makes calls, sends messages, and runs your apps does not need to be replaced simply because a new phone exists. The car that reliably and safely transports you from A to B does not need replacement because the marketing told you to. This policy alone will save you enormous sums over your lifetime. The average person replaces their smartphone every 2 to 3 years, often when the previous phone is perfectly fine. Over 30 years, that pattern alone costs you $30,000 to $50,000 in unnecessary purchases. When you apply this constant upgrade culture to cars, computers, furniture, and appliances, the lifetime waste easily exceeds $200,000. That is hustle Hannah behavior. We escape this trap by defining functional clearly. An item remains functional until it genuinely fails to serve its core purpose. Boredom is not failure. A desire for novelty is not failure. The existence of newer alternatives is not failure. Actual mechanical breakdown or genuine inability to perform required tasks is failure. Everything else is just marketing trying to convince you to solve problems you don't actually have. Human behavior always follows the path of least resistance. We are wired to take the easiest route. If spending money is easy and saving money is difficult, you will spend. If saving is easy and spending is difficult, you will save. Minimalists are not disciplined superheroes. We are behavioral engineers. We design our environment so the right choice is the easy choice. Let's create spending friction. Spending money online is way too easy. Your soft life requires you to introduce friction. Remove all stored credit card numbers from every online retailer. Delete shopping apps from your phone. Force yourself to use the browser. Unsubscribe from all promotional emails. Implement a mandatory 24-hour waiting period before any non-essential purchase. Avoid stores unless you have a specific intended purchase. Now, let's create saving ease. Saving money is hard if you have to do it manually every month. Your soft life requires you to make it automatic. Set up automatic transfers to your high-yield savings account and your investment accounts on payday. Keep only small, necessary amounts in your easily accessible checking account. Treat savings and investments like a fixed mandatory expense, like your rent, rather than an afterthought with whatever is left. These structural changes matter so much more than willpower. Willpower is a limited resource that depletes throughout your day, especially when you are tired, stressed, or emotional. Environment is constant. Someone relying on willpower to avoid an impulse purchase will eventually fail when they're exhausted on a Friday night. Someone who deleted the shopping apps and removed their credit cards simply cannot impulse purchase in that moment without significant, mindful effort. Minimalists don't trust our future selves to consistently make good decisions in high-stress moments. We design systems today that make good decisions automatic. The 24-hour waiting rule alone will eliminate roughly 70% of your impulse purchases. Most of those needs fade into wants that evaporate completely within a day. This rule might sound obsessive until you actually do it, but counting forces awareness, and awareness prevents unconscious accumulation. Pick a category, just one. Let's start with clothing, or kitchen items, or books. Count how many items you actually own in that category. Write that number down. The numbers will shock you if you've never examined your consumption patterns objectively. How many shirts do you own? Most women guess low and discover they have 3 or 4 times what they estimated. How many kitchen gadgets? How many pairs of shoes? How many books you'll never read again? The count itself changes your behavior. Once you know that you own 47 shirts, buying another sale shirt feels different. You are no longer just getting a shirt. You are bringing your collection to 48. You are making a conscious decision to manage one more item of inventory. The absurdity becomes visible. Minimalists track our key categories over time. We set maximum thresholds. You might decide on 30 items of clothing total, 15 books at any given time, perhaps a strict one-in, one-out policy where any new purchase requires you to remove an existing item in that category. These self-imposed constraints prevent lifestyle creep. Without intentional limits, possessions will expand to fill all available space. With limits, each addition requires you to make a conscious, considered decision about what it is replacing. That friction alone will dramatically reduce your acquisition. A soft life is not one that requires you to constantly manage an overflowing inventory of your own possessions. It's one where you know exactly what you have, and everything you have serves you. We've all been there. We get excited about a new hobby or project. We imagine a new version of ourselves that is into camping or pottery or kayaking. So we buy all the equipment up front, fueled by that initial enthusiasm. Most items people purchase get used intensively for a short period, maybe 2 weeks, and then they are rarely, if ever, touched again. The excitement of the newness fades. The item joins the expensive collection of things I own but never use. Minimalists break this pattern by renting or borrowing before we commit to ownership. Want to get into camping? Rent the equipment for your first few trips. Want to try woodworking? See if your friend has tools or use a local makerspace. Want a kayak? Rent different styles several times before you even think about buying one. This approach does 2 vital things. It reveals whether your enthusiasm is genuine or temporary. Many interests fade after the initial exploration phase. It is far better to discover that you don't actually like camping while renting rather than after purchasing $800 of equipment. It clarifies exactly what you need. A first-time camper often buys way too much. Renting lets you learn what is essential before you commit. When you eventually purchase, you buy precisely what you need rather than guessing. The buy-first mentality costs people enormously. Garages and closets across the country are dusty museums of abandoned hobbies. Minimalists avoid becoming museums. We test interests before we invest. We maintain the luxury and flexibility to explore without the burden of permanent ownership. Rule number 7 is about recognizing that every single possession you own is connected to an ecosystem of other possessions and expenses. We call this the lifestyle multiplier effect. A major purchase that seems simple on the receipt actually triggers a cascade of supporting purchases. The true cost of an item is never just the item itself. Let's watch how this plays out. The boat. That $30,000 boat requires a trailer. It needs a specific hitch-equipped vehicle to tow it. It requires monthly storage fees. It needs specialized maintenance supplies, safety equipment, and appropriate clothing. The home gym. A treadmill isn't alone. A home gym also requires specific protective flooring, mirrors, storage solutions for weights, and often renovations to make the spare rooms suitable. The pool. A pool requires a continuous supply of chemicals, cleaning equipment, safety covers, new pool-specific furniture, and often landscaping to complement the installation. Minimalists are careful to calculate the full ecosystem cost before any major purchase. We know that a $5,000 purchase might actually represent an $8,000 or $12,000 commitment over its lifetime. This full accounting transforms many reasonable purchases into ones that are clearly excessive for the soft life. But here is the good news. The multiplier effect also works in reverse. Eliminating just one major possession often eliminates an entire category of supporting expenses. Selling that boat means no more storage fees, insurance, registration, maintenance, or specialized towing costs. The savings extend far beyond just the value of the item you sold. By understanding this rule, you can remove whole chains of expenses and free up significant financial margin in one decisive move. This rule is what traps Hustle Hannah constantly. She never defined what enough looks like for her, so she keeps purchasing more without ever arriving at satisfaction. Her income increases, so she upgrades her lifestyle to match. The new, more expensive lifestyle quickly becomes her new normal, so now she needs another income increase to feel any progress. This is the definition of the hedonic treadmill. People earning $300,000 per year can feel just as financially stressed as people earning $80,000 because their expectations and expenses expanded right alongside their income. Minimalists break this destructive cycle by defining enough before our income starts growing. We decide in advance, what kind of home is sufficient for my needs? What kind of car reliably meets my transportation requirements? What level of material comfort constitutes genuine satisfaction for me personally? Then, we earn toward that defined target rather than constantly moving the finish line. This might mean deciding that a $350,000 home is enough, even if you eventually could afford a $600,000 home. It might mean deciding that a $30,000 reliable vehicle is enough, even when your colleagues drive $70,000 luxury cars. Defining enough creates a finish line. Without it, you are running an endless, draining race where lifestyle expansion always outpaces income growth. With it, you reach a point where every additional dollar of income flows entirely to saving and investing rather than consumption. The woman who defined her enough at $60,000 of annual spending and then started earning $150,000 builds wealth at an extraordinary, accelerated rate. The $90,000 difference between her income and her enough goes directly to purchasing her financial freedom. Rule number 9 is a fundamental shift in perspective. The conventional view measures wealth by what you have: the houses, the cars, the designer possessions, the visible markers of success. Minimalists measure wealth differently. We measure it by what you can choose. We call this optionality. How much optionality do you have? Can you leave a toxic job that is destroying your mental health? Can you take 6 months off to handle a family emergency? Can you move to a new city to support a relationship? Can you start that business you've always wanted to try? Can you say no to opportunities that pay well but compromise your values? These life-changing options represent true wealth, and they are only available to women who have built a substantial, robust margin between their income and their expenses. The woman earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost no optionality. She is chained to her high income requirement. The woman earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 has extraordinary optionality. She can absorb disruptions, take risks, and make life choices based on preference rather than financial necessity. Minimalists understand that optionality requires liquid resources more than physical possessions. The money tied up in a car you don't need is money that cannot buy your freedom when you desperately need it. Each purchase isn't just exchanging your cash for an object. You are trading your future optionality for that temporary possession. Is this item worth reducing your ability to make free choices about your life next year? Sometimes yes, but often no. Our final rule is about making minimalism a sustainable lifestyle, not a seasonal chore. Most people who attempt minimalism do one massive, overwhelming purge. They spend an entire weekend throwing things away, they feel great for a few weeks, and then they gradually, subconsciously accumulate everything back to their starting point. Within 2 years, they are right back where they started, stressed and cluttered. Minimalists avoid this destructive cycle through cyclical decluttering. Rather than massive annual purges, we perform small, regular, habitual reviews. Weekly glances at incoming items and mail. Monthly evaluation of just one single category. Quarterly assessment of overall accumulation trends. This cyclical approach allows you to catch reaccumulation early before it rebuilds to overwhelming levels. Removing 3 items per week is manageable and sustainable. Removing 300 items once a year feels overwhelming. The cyclical approach also maintains your awareness. When you evaluate your possessions regularly, you notice patterns. You see which emotional states trigger your acquisition. You recognize which specific marketing tactics work on you. This deep awareness enables prevention rather than just treatment. A soft life isn't about being in a constant state of purging. It's about being in a constant state of mindful awareness so the clutter doesn't accumulate in the first place. Let me give you a practical way to implement all 10 of these rules, starting today. I call this the Soft Life Blueprint Pivot. Many people fail because they try to hold all these calculations and counts in their heads. In the pursuit of a soft life, your mind should be for creativity, not for inventory. The financial transformation from these 10 practices compounds over time. Someone who applies these rules consistently for just 5 years accumulates substantially less, while saving and investing substantially more. Here is what nobody tells you about minimalism and money. The relationship is bidirectional. Owning less creates more money, but having more money also makes owning less feel natural. When your peace fund is robust and your investments are growing, the urge to accumulate temporary possessions diminishes. Addressing your internal insecurity through actual financial strength often causes the compulsion to spend to dissolve on its own. You don't need the stuff to feel successful, because your bank account already tells you the story you want to hear. The apartment Bella lives in, the one belonging to someone earning $52,000 with 18 months of savings, belongs to someone who chose clarity over comfort. The apartment with $95,000 that is 2 paychecks from crisis belongs to someone who never questioned the toxic assumption that more stuff equals better life. The Soft Life Blueprint is available to you regardless of what you currently earn. The choice is simple, whether you want to own your possessions or whether you are comfortable with your possessions owning you. The math and your peace of mind strongly favors the first option. If you are ready to start building your own blueprint, I recommend you start by watching this video next.